Hi guys, I'm Rebecca Libby. Thanks for tuning in to Zenith Workouts. Today we're doing a basic level mat class that is also designed to be safe for those living with low bone density, so osteopenia, osteoporosis. But today I'm also going to give some more options for more difficult progressions, because just because you might be living with low bone density doesn't mean that you're always going to be only capable of a basic level class. We put the two together because that makes sense initially, but some of you are ready for a little bit more difficult balance or a little bit more upper body strength, and that's why I have my hand weights today. So if you have hand weights at home, sort of 1 pound, 2 pounds maybe. I do have 3, but that's what I have at home. I don't know that I'd start with 3. And if you don't have any hand weights, maybe grab a couple of soup cans or just anything to add a little bit of resistance to the upper body. Again, it's optional. And we're going to do a little bit of standing work, a little bit of mat work, and hopefully feel good at the end. So starting with our feet, as we often do, in parallel, and placing the arms at the sides. If you're loose on your weights, you're looking at your thumbs facing forward when you have the hands at your sides. And then you can grasp the weights just tight enough that you don't drop them, right? So not too grippy and not bringing tension into the rest of the body. Just feel nice and grounded and even right to left leg. We're going to start with a little bit of shoulder shrug. So as you breathe in, you're feeling the shoulders drop away from the ears almost. And gently slide the shoulder blades down your spine. And as you breathe out, I want you to pick the shoulders up without letting the head poke forward or the chin poke forward. Breathe in and drop the shoulders down again. Exhale to raise the shoulders. And inhale to drop them back again. So just trying to stay nice and still in the rest of the body as you glide the shoulder blades up your spine. Climb, climb, climb towards the ears. Really tempting to poke the chin out, but you're not going to do that. And as you breathe in and drop the shoulders, it's trying to encourage you to bring your breath a little deeper into the rib cage. So it's sometimes a little bit counterintuitive to breathe in and drop your shoulders, but it's, you're trying to leave this upper part of the neck and shoulders relaxed while you fill, your deep lungs, deep rib cage with air. So just one more straight glide upward and relaxation downward. And then we'll just do some shoulder rolls. So bring those shoulders forward and up and back and down. And the arms can do whatever they want to join this movement. You're just looking for big circles in the shoulder blades at this moment. But do try to still hold the spine nice and still, the head and neck nice and still. And after this one, you can reverse the circle and just draw the shoulders back and up and then forward and down. Doesn't that feel good? We don't do this motion nearly enough, I don't think. Last one with both shoulders circling at the same time, and then we'll go backwards and we'll just alternate. And this one can just be a little free, where you do the right and then the left, so that you're getting a little rotation in the rib cage and just some freedom in the tissues there. And we'll do one more with each shoulder. And relax it down. And then we're just going to do a little rotation of the arms. So just with the weights opening and sort of closing in with the shoulders. So nice and open across the chest here. And sort of closing in, narrow collarbones, which we don't often cue you to do in Pilates. Nice wide collarbones. Nice narrow collarbones. But you're looking for just that rotation in the shoulder, and how does it feel side to side? And then we'll do this rotation again, but with the elbows bent. So one more time with the elbows straight and just this relaxed rotation. And then pause and bend the elbows to 90 degrees. You can have the weights vertical if you have them. And just bring them together. And then separate them as far as you can while you keep the elbows close to your side. So it's weights together and weights apart. And that one you should really feel that you challenge yourself to press those weights apart and almost like you're aiming back behind you a little bit. while you keep the rest of the spine still, and just notice any asymmetries in the shoulder. Does one of your shoulders appreciate this less than the other? Good. We'll hold the next one with the weights back, and we'll just press them a little bit further. Just see if you can gain a little more of that rotation. Feel it as maybe an opening across the chest or a little bit of work in the back of the shoulders. And have the rest of the body nice and still, the spine long and relaxed. And relax it down. Good. We're going to go into a nice squat and then heel raise with the weights. As you breathe in and sit back into your squat, you're thinking about staying wide across the chest as those arms, the weights float up, the shoulders stay down away from the ears, and you sit back in your squat. And as you come up, you press onto the balls of the feet, and press the weights behind you as far as you can before you'd have to alter your spine alignment. So nice breath in to lower, exhale to come up, and raise up on the toes. And the weights are just nice because they give you some awareness of the upper body, right? So staying wide across the chest as you sit back in your squat and keeping the neck nice and long, the chin gently tucked at that moment. And as you come up and press the weights behind you, you're thinking about that opening across the chest, the strength between the shoulder blades and at the back of the arms. We'll hold this one down. And just turn the weights vertical and bring them together. And we're going to open the arms and press those weights behind as far as we can control, just an opening across the chest, and bring it back together. So it's nice. Breath in to open and get wide. Exhale to pull it all in. And you're just noticing what the lower body is having to do to keep this balance, to keep the spine nice and still and in neutral. If you picked heavy weights, you're feeling it in the shoulders. Perfect. Let's make that last one like that. Bring the arm shoulder width apart again. Press out of your squat. Bring the weights behind you as you raise up onto the heels. And either staying on the heels for a more difficult modification or putting the heels down for a little bit easier. I want you to pulse those weights behind you. So press them back and high and relax. Press them back and high and relax. And keep the rest of the body nice and still, including the head and neck. Try to imagine that if you had a string with a helium balloon on it. At the top of the head, it would be drawing you taller and taller. 3, 2, 1. If you were on the heel or up on the balls of feet, sink the heels for this one. Keep the weights back behind you as far as you're comfortable, and then do a little rotation at the head and neck. To the right and to the left. We're just going to do 3 to each side. So imagining that as you rotate, you keep the back of your head against an imaginary wall behind you. Yeah. Beautiful. And relax it down. And shake it out. Good. So we're going to go into a lunge, and we're just going to do, with the weights, we're just going to be doing a bicep curl. So just a bend of the elbows. But I want you to be aware of the form, not so much from the elbows down, but in the upper arm and the shoulder blade. So as you're doing your curl, try not to let the elbows come out to the side or do anything wonky that way. Keep them nice and narrow, sort of into your waist with the, where they draw your blood, your cubital fossa. That's going to stay facing forward all times so that you're nice and open across the chest, and then it's just simply that elbow bend and release. But you're feeling nice and active in that upper body as we do it. So picking your size of lunge that suits you and lets you balance. And then going as deep as you feel your body wants to today. Nice breath in to lower and do your curl. Exhale. Use that deep belly and pelvic floor connection to control and help as you come up. And again, nice and still in the spine. Paying attention to the head and neck position not letting that chin poke forward. Good. Holding the next one down. Good. And releasing the arms to your side and doing a little balance with the knee movement. So that our knee, and you can even put hands on the hips if you want to feel that stillness in the pelvis. The knee is going to open out to the side a little bit, come back to be centered. Bring the knee in a little bit and come back to be centered. And we're just doing 4 of these. Out to the side, back to the center, in a little bit, and back to the center. And always center just to make sure you have that control. And here you're challenging, the hip control, because it's really what is moving this knee, is the deep hip muscles. And then challenging your core to stay nice and still on that. So a nice smooth switch here. Step it forward, stay centered, step it back, and just get ready to repeat on the other side, that lunge. Same movement, we're just going to do a nice bicep curl. So breathing in to lower down and curl, stay open across the chest and come back up. Inhale. Feel that you try to use the hips to press back up and not all the front leg, not all that quadricep, right? Front thigh. Try to press into the heel of the forward foot and feel some activity in the glutes. Those are the bum muscles. Good. And then we'll hold the next one down. Relax the arms, bring the hands to the hips if you want, because we're doing that movement at the knee. Keep your toes nice and relaxed and let the knee open out to the side a bit. And in. Bring it in and back to center. Just for 4, with that knee movement out to the side, center over the foot. In a little bit, back to centered over the foot. Out, center, in, center, one more. So that leg should be feeling a little bit tired, eh? Yay. And step smoothly out of the lunge and shake it out. How are we doing? We've got one more, and here's where you're going to have some option for a more difficult progression. We're going to go back to that original leg in front, so whichever leg you started with on your lunge. And you're not going to be in a deep lunge here, but you're just going to put your weight. So I had my left leg forward first. So now I have all my weight in the left leg with a soft knee, not dramatically bent, but not locked straight. I've hinged forward at the hips, so you're going to do that too. And then the back leg is just behind you on the mat for balance, right? And option 1 is the back leg stays down, the weights hang, just heavy and relaxed down from the shoulders. The more you hinge forward at the hips, right? The more you're going to feel this in the upper back as we do this opening, this fly movement, right? So if you're here, you're not going to feel it as much between the shoulder blades as if you hinge forward more. But this depends on how comfortable you are in the back and stuff too. So do your best to get yourself a little more horizontal, but still maintain that nice neutral spine, and that'll make you work in the front leg. The weights can come together, and the head and neck stays in line with the rest of the spine. On your exhale, I want you to separate the weights. And at your very peak, you've got the arms right out from the shoulders, and you're wide across the chest, and you're wide between your shoulder blades, and lower it down. So this is option 1. As the weights come up to their highest point, you're drawing in the low belly to keep that neutral spine. You're holding the low ribs back, so that as the arm comes up, you don't get the shift forward. Harder version is to lift the back leg, so you lift the weights, and then the back leg lifts and lowers, and the weights lower. So lift the weights, lift the back leg, lower and down. And this is hard, this is good balance, but some of us are ready for this. So whichever version you're doing, from here we're going to do 4 more. Exhale to get wide across the chest, add the leg lift if you wish, and then lower everything down. Exhale. Breathe in and lower. Open across the chest. Keep the shoulders away from the ears. Good, and this is our last one. Lift the leg, release, lower the arms, bring the leg in, and then just take a moment and straighten up and shake it out a little bit, because you should feel that in the leg that you were standing on. It's doing a nice isometric exercise, which means the muscles aren't shortening or lengthening. They're just static, but they're working, right? To hold you in balance. So same thing with the other foot forward. So right leg for me now. The more horizontal you can get, the more you can fold at that hip but still keep the neutral spine, the more you're going to feel it in those postural muscles in the back. And here we go. When you're ready, exhaling to open up, wide through the chest, and then add the leg lift if you want, and release everything down. I'm getting my arm position established first and then lifting the leg. I'm not doing leg and arm at the same time. You could, but if you're going to do that, you just want to make sure you're very, very aware of keeping the spine in neutral as you control both the long leg and the long arm lever. Let's do 4 more. 4. Are the toes relaxed in that front leg? No help to have them grippy or curled. Good, last one. Arms nice and wide. Leg lifts briefly if you're adding that. Lower the leg, lower the arms. Bring the back leg in. And then shake it out, good. And that is our standing part done. So you can put the weights off to the side. And we're gonna come down onto our back on the mat. If you do have some low bone density, I encourage you to lay down on your side first, to come down on your side and then do like a log roll over, so you're not getting that big flexion through the spine as you come down onto the mat. And starting with that, what I love to do, getting that foundation. So nice neutral pelvis, feet sit bone width apart, knees no wider than the feet or the hips. You've got the little space behind the waist on the mat, but then the rest of you is really melting into the mat behind you, trying to get those shoulder blades a little more connected, the upper arms, the forearms, the palm of the hand. And we're going to start with our core breath today. So there's no movement of our pelvis or our spine as we do this. It's just a breath in to feel the low belly fill and rise a little bit, to feel the pelvic floor relax. And as you breathe out, you're lifting that pelvic floor. The low belly is reflexively drawing in and the low ribs are narrowing a little bit. So just do maybe 3 breaths like that. And once you feel like you have your rhythm, then we'll just start to do some leg lifts, just a tabletop. So breath in to prepare, out breath to stabilize, and left leg up to tabletop. Release it down and just feel that pelvis stay absolutely still today. Switch, right leg to tabletop. Hopefully feeling that if there was any wobble or like uncertainty or lack of smoothness in the motion as you start, that you can iron that out as you're repeating, right? And this is just, I say waking up the core, but it really sort of is. It's like giving those little core muscles a nudge and saying, hey, lunch break's over. Get back to work. Good, and let's start to add the arms. So we'll just keep the legs going at this nice pace and let both arms come off the mat. Let them come overhead and keep those low ribs from leaving the mat, right? Let that lower rib stay really held back against the mat. Lower it down and switch. And just at your own pace here. Where you're thinking the center of you is staying nice and centered. There's no rotation through the ribs, there's no wobble in the pelvis. And you're almost getting a little stretch in the shoulders because you're trying to get those upper arms back towards the mat behind you. But at the same time, you're holding the low ribs back, not letting them pop into the air, right? So after this one, let's just hold with the leg in tabletop, the arms overhead. If that's too hard on your shoulder, certainly you can relax the arms, maybe bring them up towards the ceiling. We'll bring the second leg to tabletop. So breath in to prepare, dig in deep, and let there be no change in the position of the spine as you bring that second leg up. We'll leave the arms here if you can so that you're having to challenge yourself and hold the low ribs back. Don't let any space develop between the rib cage and the mat, and we'll do single toe taps. So left leg lowers on that out breath and comes back up, and then the right. And so this is one that I feel can be progressed for some of you. We've got this methodical speed where, it's one leg movement at a time. So the left leg's lowering, coming back up, and then the right starts. But if you're feeling really strong, you've been doing this series a while, then you can start to switch in motion so that as the left leg's coming up, the right leg can start its lowering. And this is what we would do in a higher level, sometimes a level 1, but certainly in a level 2 class. And it's great. If you can control that position of the spine, it's a much more functional movement because it's like walking or something, you're moving both legs at one time. So whatever version you're picking, let's do 2 more after this. So 2, 2, 1, 1, and pause with the legs in tabletop. Let's bring the arms up now to face the ceiling, and we're going to go long with one leg. So extend the left leg on your out breath. At the same time, the right arm can go overhead a little bit, and you're lowering what you can control and bringing it back in and switching. And this one too, this is option 1. This is your true basic movement where you're just working on getting a long lever. You're reaching long with the leg, you're controlled in the waist, and you're coming back in. But if you've been doing this a while, and you're just choosing the series because of some low bone density, you can start to make the arm movement bigger for one, but also to switch in motion. So you start to bring one leg in as the other's starting to reach out. So pick your version. The passing and movement version is quite a bit harder on the abdominals. So just make sure you have that control. And we'll do 2 more after this. So 2, 2, 1, 1, and pause. Bring the knees and just hug them in towards the chest. And we're just going to stretch here for a second. So as you breathe in, you can give yourself a little space, and as you breathe out, you can draw in with the belly and pull the knees in towards the chest with the arms. But I'd like you to keep the shoulders down, away from the ears, and let the elbows get wide out to the side as you do that, rather than having the elbows close and shrugging the shoulders up. It's okay if the tailbone and back of the pelvis lift a little bit, but this is just a nice stretch for the hips, nice big movement at the hips. Beautiful. And then we're gonna, from there, hold the left knee in and just let the right leg straighten out. And so you're trying to feel almost a stretch in both legs at this point. The one that's long on the mat, you're feeling maybe a little bit of length in the hip, the front of the hip flexor. And the one that's up, of course, you're still hugging into the chest, so you're maybe feeling a length in the glute region, or maybe a bit at the fold of the hip. And you can play around with bringing the knee in towards the center a bit, letting it go out to the side a bit. But try to keep that other leg heavy on the mat and connected. Good. And then we'll switch. Right knee hugs in, left leg straightens out, or whichever one, of course, that you were just doing. And then just play around with whether you hug that knee straight in or across the body a little bit or out to the side a little bit. Good. Beautiful. And then lower the legs one at a time. Put the arms at your sides. Be wide across the chest, relaxed in the ribs. Uncurl your toes and take a breath in. On your out breath, gently allowing that low back to settle down towards the mat. Squeeze the bum, and I want you to lift the tailbone, the back of the pelvis, the low back, just to come up to a low bridge position. Take your breath in there. Try to feel long in your spine. Try to feel like your knees are reaching over your toes, and then peel back down on your next out breath. Nice breath in on the mat. Exhale, peel it up. And breathe it down. And here, just trying to make this motion a little bit smoother. Using gravity to help you as you go down. Try to leave the bum up for a long time and see if you can get those ribs to connect back down to the mat. And then one bone of the low spine at a time. See if the low back can fully connect before the pelvis. That's hard, right? Make sure the knees aren't getting wider at the top. They're just staying the same distance apart as the feet or the hips. And then we're going to hold the next one up. And once again, here you have choices. We're going to be lifting one heel or the whole foot. So if you're choosing this for the fact that this video is a basic level, then focus on keeping the hips level and just lift the left heel and put it back down. And hips level as you lift the right heel and put it back down. So that's your whole focus is on keeping the low ribs back, keeping the pelvis up nice and level, and just that little heel raise. Some of you, of course, are old salts at this. So your option today is to press into the right leg and fully lift the left and extend it straight out so that the knees are parallel, the thighs are parallel, the hips are still level. And release it down. So again, this is, it's all nice neutral spine, great for your low bone density. You're going to get similar strengthening in the back of the pelvis and the deep hip rotators and the back itself. But one is just a much more difficult option, of course. So whichever one you're choosing, whether the heel raise or the long straight knee, let's do two more. So left and right. And left and right. Take a nice breath in, lift the hips a bit higher and peel it down, one bone of the back at a time. Gorgeous. And then come on to your side. Actually, come on to your belly today. And we're just going to do a little bit for our postural muscles. Good. And you're going to have options here. So first, get your pelvis organization so you feel where your nice neutral pelvis is. I want you to have the legs out nice and straight. And see if you can do a little turn out. So see if you can turn the toes away from each other, the kneecaps facing outward a little bit, if that's comfortable. And then nice breath in. On your out breath, you're drawing in with the low belly. And you're going to come up with the face and the throat and a little bit of the breastbone. And you're just going to stay here. And your first option is just arms. So you reach the arms out in front of you. If they can be shoulder width apart, great. Or if you need them in a wider V, that's okay too. We're going to be on your out breath, drawing in the low belly, staying nice and still in the spine, nice and still in the upper body, and floating one arm without letting that shoulder shrug up towards the ears. So it's just alternate arms. Exhale, inhale to release. And even if you want to pick the more difficult version that's coming, start with this. Exhaling, draw in with the low belly. Make sure that the rib cage and the pelvis stay nice and still as you float the arm and release it back down. And it's not about how high you can lift the arm, it's about the organization. So as you float the arm, does the shoulder stay
away from the ear? Does the neck stay nice and long? Can you pick up the arm from like the shoulder blade muscles and not from like the upper shoulder neck muscles? And if you'd like to add in the leg too, then it's left arm lifts, right leg floats, and release it down and switch. But I don't want you to add the leg in if it means then you're moving in your pelvis or moving in the rib cage or losing the height in your face and throat. So make sure the spine is still and add the leg lever if you can. Okay? Whichever version you're doing, we're doing 4 more each side. A little bit of endurance in this today. Yeah. And just think, as you raise the arm and leg, or just the arm to its highest position, that's when the belly is the lightest against the mat. That's when you've really drawn in with the belly to support what the back muscles are doing. So last one with each side. Beautiful. Good. And lower the face and throat. Bring the hands underneath the rib cage and bend the knees. Try a perfect press up. So thighs, breastbone, tummy, they leave the mat at the same time. Lovely. Bring the knees in. And we're going to do a cat stretch. So the hands are right under the shoulders. Breath in. Out breath. We'll start with the head and neck today. So tuck the chin. Let the whole head round forward. And then feel the upper back lead the way. The mid back follows. The low back coming in at the end. And then release. Low back. Mid back. Upper back flattening out. And the head and neck coming back in line with the rest of the spine. And we'll do 2 more like that. Exhale. I started with my low back. Head and neck. Upper back. Mid back. Lower back. Try to imagine the forehead coming close to the thighs, but the shoulders still staying wide and away from the ears. And then release pelvis, low back, mid back, upper back, head and neck. Last one. Nod the chin. Feel it as a wave from the crown of the head all the way to the tailbone, 1 vertebra at a time. And releasing again from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Good. Curl the toes underneath. Last exercise. Our lovely hover. So here you want no movement in the spine. Take your breath in to prepare, and as you exhale, lift the pelvic floor, draw in the belly, and hover the knees. And release it down. And again, hover the knees on your exhale, and release it down. So this is our first level, right? You're in your neutral spine. It's a lot of work to hover those knees, to keep them low, to keep the organization in the upper body. But if you're ready for it, then take a slightly larger distance between hands and knees. So just step the hands forward a tiny bit. Come up to your hover and add in a tiny rock forward to put more weight in the hands and a tiny rock back to put more weight in the feet. Oh yeah, right? It's hard. But just to give you those options today, if you feel ready for them. And some days might even vary, right? Maybe you didn't sleep well last night and you want the easier version. We're going to do 4 more. So exhaling to come up. Inhaling to lower down if you're doing your option 1, or rocking forward, rocking back. And you can always take a break in between. So you could lower the knees, come back up. As you rock forward, you really have to respond by pressing the chest more away from the mat, right? And as you rock back, you have to respond by drawing in with the belly more to keep the organization in the hip. So this is probably your last one, whatever version you're doing. End it well. Release the knees, uncurl the toes. Come up to tall kneeling. And then you're going to practice your coming to stand without using any arms if you can. So pick a leg and place it forward in front of you. And then say, oh yeah, that's probably your good leg. Do the other side. And then if you need the hands on the thigh or on the floor to come up, no problems. But if you don't, then
You're in I Dream of Jeannie and you're pressing into that front leg and trying to come up without needing to use anything for support. And there you go. Hopefully that feels great. Let's just do a nice breath in, arms overhead. And exhaling. And one more time. And there you go. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the harder options if you were ready for them. And have a good day. I'll see you next time. Ciao.